Welcome to the DMF. I'm Justin Younts. This is part two. Were Richard Donner, Walter Hill, and Joel Silver, were they all credited as like develop showrunners as the
No,
show?
well, they weren't showrunners.
Okay.
The first two seasons, the showrunner was a guy named Bill Titler.
Okay.
And Bill Titler was really, he ran the show, but it didn't run it quite as responsibly as he perhaps should have. HBO looking at now a season 3 of Tales from the Crypt, supposed to be the last season. They wanted someone responsible, a responsible producer to oversee, since their cash flow.
Yeah.
They wanted Gil.
Okay.
They knew Gil was a strong producer, a responsible producer, and since I was Gil's writing partner,
Yeah.
we had done episodes of Gil had produced a show called Freddy's Nightmares, the Nightmare on Elm Street TV series. And
Yeah. And you
Gil
wrote
I
on
were
that as
writing
well.
So we wrote a couple episodes, and Gil directed his first time there.
Another show you can't see anymore.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other story. That show.
So yeah.
Gil, so though I did not have the bona fides to run any show, because there was no one in that role previously, the partners hadn't even thought of it. When Gil said, well, I got to have Alan as the story editor, they went, okay,
Yeah.
we don't care.
Yeah.
Not our money. It's not our money as far as we're concerned. We're getting paid. We don't care. And so I became the story editor that first season I was on the show. And I had two principal jobs. First, it was to oversee the transfer of the franchise from the comic books to every frame of our TV series. So I was the last word. I was the final typist, as it were. Every script went through me before it went to our department heads, before it went to casting, before we were done. Every script had to flow through me. I was the last word on
Yeah.
making sure that every script, every moment felt like, oh, an episode of Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah.
My other job was writing Crypt Keeper segments. Now,
Okay.
just as the show never went through any kind of development process, and I never got a deficit partner, the Crypt Keeper never went through any kind of development process either. The Crypt Keeper in the comic books is an old white guy with stringy hair. The executive producers wanted their own Crypt Keeper, and one day, entirely by happenstance, at a storage facility, Joel Silver bumped into special effects maestro Kevin Yeager, who kept a bunch of his stuff there. In time, Kevin would go on to create the Crypt Keeper, Chucky, but Kevin he had worked for Stan Winston. He had a lot of incredible creations inside the storage facility. And when Joel saw it, he fell in love, and he said,
Yeah.
Kevin, you got to make a Crypt Keeper for me. And Kevin, okay, I'll do that. And so Kevin created the Crypt Keeper puppet, which is actually 6 puppeteers.
Yeah.
6 puppeteers are the Crypt Keeper, and one is the right arm, one is the left arm. 3 are working the servos of his face, his cheeks, and
It's
his
a
mouth.
Brilliant piece of puppetry. What do you
And
say?
the other one controls his lateral movements and his back and forth movements. And Kevin found John Kassir, and John became the voice of the Crypt Keeper. But no one ever asked the question, okay, so who is he? Who is this character?
Yeah.
Whoever wrote the episodes in those first 2 seasons, they threw some lines at the Crypt Keeper, and that's what they shot.
So the Crypt Keeper was still there in seasons 1 and season 2. Okay.
He's the puppet called the Crypt Keeper, and he's like the Crypt Keeper, but one of my jobs was to write all the Crypt Keeper segments, and I don't know how you write for a character who doesn't exist. So simply to do my damn job, I had to invest a character. I had to invest him with a character. I grew up a drama-rama in high school, loved old movies, loved the Marx Brothers. The Crypt Keeper became my own little personal Groucho, and had to put a personality in him. And being a writer and being therefore somewhat lazy, I reached for the closest personality at hand, which was me. So although it looks like Kevin's puppet, it sounds like John's voice, every thought in his head, every word that came out of his mouth was me. Over the course of that 3rd season, something happened, supposed to be the last season. Between reinvesting in the franchise elements in the comic book and putting them on screen, between Gil and I going after the biggest names we could get, the vision of feature film vision inside a little TV box, going back after big stars. But more than anything else, it was investing a personality inside the Crypt Keeper that at the end of the day really changed the franchise's fortunes. He became the franchise.
Yeah.
A bunch of years ago, not that long, 5-6 years ago, just before the pandemic, TNT wanted to do a Thursday night horror wheel, and one of the spokes of the wheel was going to be a brand new Tales from the Crypt. M. Night Shyamalan was going to be the executive producer of the whole thing, and he had gotten a hold of the rights, an option to the rights of the comic books. He bumped into a problem. The Crypt Keeper he now had the rights to was the old white guy with stringy hair. The Crypt Keeper that's in the TV series, that's a completely separate piece of intellectual property, of IP, owned by the Crypt partners. Now, the thing about the Crypt partners is the partner who always walked point on Tales from the Crypt certainly was Joel Silver. And Joel he's one of a kind. He is a larger than life personality. He is an impresario as a producer. He's produced some of the biggest action franchises there are, Matrix, Lethal Weapon,
Predator.
Yeah. Like I say, he's larger than life. He also happens to be one of the biggest effing a-holes on the planet. He is movie characters have been created imitating him. Swimming with Sharks is all about a Joel Silver like producer that Kevin Spacey is playing. Yes, many movies have been made where a Joel Silver like producer was deliberately created. Hey, Roger Rabbit, at the very beginning of Roger Rabbit, there's a Rogers and doing a piece, it goes wrong, and the director rips him a second a-hole. That director is played by Joel Silver, and Joel Silver is playing Joel Silver. It's the most amazing in-joke.
That is Joel Silver that is playing that part?
It's Joel Silver playing the director playing, and he's playing Joel Silver.
So it's like a meta. Like...
Yeah. It is a wonderful in-joke. If you know what you're looking at, it's hilarious.
I'm thinking about it right
hilarious.
now.
What was
that's so funny. Going back a little bit to talking about the Crypt Keeper. With the Crypt Keeper, you come in on the 3rd season. So what you talk about the developing, Kim, what was the one thing that you really wanted to add to him that you felt like was missing?
My question was, and this is what I put to Barry Josephson, who worked for Joel, is the one interview I had, because they didn't know who I was and they wanted to meet me. And I said, here's my question. What does the Crypt Keeper do at the end of the production day when he punches the clock and goes home to his crypt? Well, okay, what does he have for dinner? What does he watch on TV? What are his hobbies? Does he have friends? What does he like to do? And my question was, who is he? Who is he really? I didn't want to know his backstory. That's not what I was going for. I wanted to give him a deep, rich interior life, and that's what opened up the character. I do a lot of recently I've started to do as many local horror conventions as I can. I love meeting up with horror fans. The most wonderful, the sweetest people. When you go to a horror convention and half the room is dressed up as Freddy Krueger or Leatherface or Jason, you would think it'd be madness, but they're so sweet because they've sublimated all their anger at the world into those characters. And so they walk around in kind of a blessed state. I say that as an atheist. They're quite remarkable, and I love being around them. Quite many. As I sit there meeting them, they will tell me that Tales from the Crypt was the gateway drug to horror for them. And in many cases, they watched it despite the fact that their parents told them, you are not watching that TV show, or actually more likely they watched it with their parents who were horror fans who thought this is the perfect way to introduce someone we love to something we love.
I had to sneak it because I mean I saw maybe the later seasons into it, but I remember the Crypt Keeper, and that was such a iconic. When you think of it, he is that series, and he's such a fascinating
he
character.
tells you we're in this together. We're both having a laugh about this. We're going to go some pretty disgusting places, but we're laughing. He made it okay to do all the horrible things that we did.
Interesting. That's a good
we did
way
some
to look
really
at it.
horrible
He
things.
reminds me a little bit of Freddy Krueger, where he's kind of in on the joke.
In some of the episodes, yes. In some of the movies, yes. When we did the series, that was the Freddy Krueger that we were tapping into, the funny Fred.
Yeah, the funny, not the serious, because he's kind of like he's telling the story. He's like the narrator before, and he's putting the book in between the two.
Yeah. So the Crypt Keeper was the difference. He really turned Tales from the Crypt around. Now, I can tell you that writing Crypt Keeper segments was the hardest thing I've ever had to do creatively. It was horrible. It was like pulling organs through your nose. It was we would batch them because we would get the puppeteers together and choreograph several, and we'd have to put the crypt set back together again. And so we would do 3 or 4 at a time. So I would have to write 3 or 4 at a time. So, all right, I have a huge list of things the Crypt Keeper. Okay, what would the Crypt Keeper? What could he be doing this week? What is his interest this week? What world are we going to take him into? And then, all right, if it's the world of golf, for instance, then all right, then a huge list of golf words. And which words can be cryptified? Can the Crypt Keeper turn into one of his? And if I could find enough words and then string sentences together that made some kind of sense and somehow led into the episode, all right, then that would work. But there were lots and lots of dead ends where, it started out so promising. There were 2 or 3 good ones, but not enough to justify the whole thing. There was always, it's not like you had all day to do this. You got to get this done. You got to get this done. You got to get this done. You got 5 more. You got 3 more of these to write, pal. And so, because of the deadline pressure, you had to go for the ones that it was clearest. And then I would write them. They'd go out to everybody, and then I would go and I sit down with John, and we would do what's called the beep track. And we do a little rewriting together. John was always so much fun to work with. That was probably the most fun part of the whole deal. And
we're talking about John,
John Kassir. I'm sorry, John Kassir, the voice of Crypt Keeper, sitting and recording with John. And then on production day, of course, the set would be there, the puppeteers would be there, and it took a small army to make Crypt Keeper segments because of all the choreography involved. And the director would yell action, and the beep track would start, beep, 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 and John's voice would be there, and the Crypt Keeper, who had been on the desk, would suddenly sit up, moving and talking, and hey, I know he wasn't real, but suddenly you'd forget that. And the Crypt Keeper would do whatever it was that he said, and he'd come to the end of his thing, and the director would yell cut, and the Crypt Keeper would sag back onto the desk. And you'd go, oh yeah, that's right, he's not real. Oh yeah, oh yeah. He would become real each and every time they yelled action.
So a little bit like how Kermit the Frog is. It's just a sock puppet, but when you put that thing there,
when you animate it, something, it gets something else gets animated. It's something that you're not intending to animate. A spirit of not a negative spirit, but really and truly, collectively, you have brought an inanimate thing to life in a very particular way.
Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.